Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. I want to talk a bit about Daniel Dubois because the fight with Oleksandr Usyk, I think, was a total mixed bag as far as Dubois was concerned. Now, let's get a little bit of perspective here. I'm not going to talk about the low blow thing because I've done a video on that. There's no point in rehashing it, okay? I think it was probably a low blow. That's all I'm going to say for this video. If you want to know exactly why I think that, you can go and look at the other video. But let's look at these two fighters, Usyk and Dubois, and let's get a bit of perspective that has perhaps been overlooked, not just because of that low blow, but because of, well, the fact it was a world title fight and there's a lot of chit-chat goes on and a lot of debate about all sorts of things. Did Dubois deserve to be fighting for the title? And look, if you know anything about these two fighters, you will know that Oleksandr Usyk is a proven elite fighter. He may be 36 now, but he has been, in his 21 wins as a professional, he's been the 12-round distance 6 times, including his last three occasions, which were twice against Anthony Joshua and also before that Derek Chisora, the 12-round distance. This Dubois fight was only his 5th fight at heavyweight, but that doesn't really matter because he's still a big man. He's not the biggest. He's not a gigantic man. 220 is a small heavyweight by modern standards. But if you look at his cruiserweight resume, Gasayev, Brados, Bellew, again, Brados and Gasayev were 2 12-round decisions. He went 10 rounds with Marco Huck. Beat Machunu, I think, in 9, and Glowacki, that was a unanimous decision over 12. I mean, it's really a who's who of cruiserweights. Arguably, he's the greatest cruiserweight champion ever, and he completely unified the title. It was an undisputed title. And since then, since moving to heavyweight, he had a little run around with Chaz Witherspoon for 7 rounds. Did Chisora over the distance. It's a very tough man. Derek had a little bit left at the time. And then he beat Joshua twice. And Joshua is, a very, very good fighter. So that was Usyk. Now let's look at Dubois. Okay, Dubois came in with 19 wins, 18 KOs, and 1 defeat. Okay, but his best performance, let's say the best name, apart from Joe Joyce, who stopped him in 10 rounds, and we all know that Daniel quit at the end of that fight. He had a busted eye socket. Daniel's best name on his record is probably Nathan Gorman, who he stopped in 5 rounds for the vacant British heavyweight title. Daniel has been British and Commonwealth champ. When he fought Joyce and he got stopped, that was for the EBU title as well. So he's never been European champion. Since the Joyce fight, he's fought Bogdan Dinu, Joe Cusimano, and Trevor Bryan. Oh, Kevin Lerena, of course, as well. So he had those 4 fights. He struggled badly against Lerena. He got caught early, caught cold, on the top of the head, scrambled his brains. I don't hold this idea that he had some sort of busted knee. He didn't. He couldn't have fought on if he had a busted knee. I know people that have had cruciate ligament damage and so on, and it hurts. You can't put any weight on your leg, and it hurts anyway, even if you haven't got any. It's excruciating pain, even if you haven't got any weight on your leg. So he kind of. He got rid of those people, but how many leagues is Kevin Lerena or Bogdan Dinu or Trevor Bryan below Oleksandr Usyk? Daniel Dubois had never gone 12 rounds. All right, the closest he came to it was when he got stopped in 10 by Joyce. So you have to say, what did he do at 25 years of age, having been knocked out by Joyce? Counted out by Joyce. What did he do to warrant this shot at Usyk? And of course the answer is nothing. He went to America and fought in what looked like a school gymnasium. against Trevor Bryan, who may as well have been the school gymnasium caretaker. Knocked him out in 4 rounds and got this, sort of low tar WBA belt, which got him a ranking and meant that he could challenge Usyk. But when you look at their respective records, I mean, Usyk, almost 11 years older than Dubois, also, of course, an Olympic champion. Never mind his, incredible professional achievements. He's also an Olympic champ, extremely well schooled, proven beyond doubt, and then you're throwing a 25-year-old kid in with him. Now, also, let's look at their personalities. Usyk, tremendously mentally strong, has been on the road for virtually his entire career. I don't know whether he's ever fought in Ukraine. He may have done once or twice early on in his career. But fighting in Poland against Dubois was almost a homecoming because Poland borders Ukraine and there are a lot of Ukrainian immigrants in Poland. I happen to know some Polish people, a few Polish people, and they tell me this. So it was packed to the rafters with Usyk fans, with Ukrainian people. And we all know about, what the Ukrainian nation is going through. And Usyk is kind of symbolic of that defiance against what they perceive to be, Russian aggression. So he's got all that pressure on him and he handles it. And he spent his entire career going into people's backyards and, beating them up, taking their titles, knocking them out. In the case of, say, Tony Bellew, for example. So you then flip this over to Daniel Dubois. And yes, Dubois won his WBA regular low-fat belt against Bryan in Miami. He went over there. So he's got some experience of travelling, but he doesn't have the amateur pedigree. And, his experience is dwarfed by Usyk's undoubted resume. I mean, he's just been all over the world. He's as a professional and an amateur. And Daniel can't offer anything in comparison. So let's look at, I said this fight was going to be about Daniel. The reason I've talked about that Usyk and Daniel is because I want to just bring to light things that have seemingly been overlooked. Just the gulf in experience, the gulf in class, the gulf in achievements. And as personalities, Usyk, again, very mentally strong, very, very calm under pressure. Daniel, in terms of his personality, very quiet, very shy. Some people have suggested how can one say this? It looks like he's on the spectrum, if you know what I mean. I'm not being rude. I don't mean to be rude. I've got nothing against Daniel Dubois. This is not an anti-Daniel Dubois video. I'm just saying he comes across as being almost like, in some respects, like a little boy, like someone who needs, he's a gentle giant. He needs that arm around the shoulder. However, having said that, when you take all that stuff into consideration, Daniel walked into that ring in Poland with an entire crowd full of Ukrainians baying for his blood. And I think he handled that pressure very, very well. Now, why did he handle that pressure well? Well, I think a big part of it is that he prepared well. And I think we have to give Don Charles, and to probably a lesser extent, James Ali Bashir, who came in very late, I think we have to give Don Charles a lot of credit for this. Because Don Charles is an extremely passionate man about boxing. He said, he loves his fighters like they're his kids, and he wants to create good human beings, not just good fighters. And he is very much a father figure to a lot of fighters. And I think that would apply especially to Daniel Dubois, who is someone who, again, seems to need that arm around the shoulder. I think Don Charles is the man for Daniel Dubois. I think he should stay as his trainer. I think they should work together. I think that they only had 16, 17 weeks, 4 months, 3.5, 4 months maybe together. And it takes time to gel. But I think personality-wise, Don Charles may be the person to get inside Daniel's head and sort of quell the demons, so to speak, because there's no doubt that Daniel, at the end of the Usyk fight, was mentally broken down. He'd never been 12 rounds. He'd had that bit of controversy in the 5th round where he thought he might have knocked Usyk out with a body punch. Usyk started very sharply with the jab, very, very good jab. But to his credit, Daniel, even though he was losing rounds, they were competitive. The thing is that Usyk has that ability to put mental pressure on you. The pressure he puts on a person, not just to fight at a pace they don't like, but to think at a pace they don't like. It's something that Tony Bellew's talked about. It definitely indicates that not just his mental strength, but his experience at how to deal with big situations. Daniel, of course, didn't have that experience. And in boxing, as in life, there literally is no substitute for experience. Experience is a tremendous asset to have, because if something's new, ultimately you might second guess yourself, you might not know what to do. You're basically learning on the job, and a boxing ring is not the place to learn on the job. Having said that, I thought Daniel did some good work. He jabbed well, he hung tough, he was looking to work the body very, very well, as we know. The downside is he didn't probably throw enough punches. It's easier said than done, because if you're buying all the feints and the guy's footwork is so good as it is with Usyk, it's going to be difficult, very difficult, to just sort of wade in, especially as the rounds go by and you are tired. You'll be having that energy, mental and physical, drained out of you. It's very difficult to fire lots of punches. But the experience of travelling all that way into the lion's den and fighting an elite fighter, right, and going 9 rounds, I think that will definitely benefit Daniel if he views it correctly, and if the people around him, namely Don Charles, explain to him, yeah, you lost, but you picked up a lot of experience there. And defeats, to be defeated by Usyk, it's not a disaster, it's not a catastrophe. I'm a little bit reticent about the idea of that Don Charles has been going on and on and on about how this great injustice, he believes that, Daniel should be the champ, that he actually knocked Usyk out. He's said in his interviews, he fought 2 fights on Saturday night. He won the first one and he lost the second, meaning he actually knocked out Usyk, but then Usyk was allowed to continue and he lost that second fight. I don't like the way Don Charles is dwelling on this. And this is where, passion can sort of eat you up, because you can start talking the sort of stuff that Don is talking, and it can actually be counterproductive in that it gets into your fighter's head, and your fighter starts to think, well, maybe he's right. Maybe that chance is gone. Maybe I'll never get that chance again. What I think Don should be doing is just calming it down a little bit, going back to Daniel and saying, look, don't worry about it. It was an injustice. They can perceive it as an injustice if they want, but to say, look, let's take the good stuff from that performance. You jabbed well, you hit to the body well, your footwork weren't too bad. I know the commentators, I think it was Tim Bradley, was the stream I was watching. Tim Bradley was saying that his transitions they're too obvious, so they're easy to read. Going from defence to offence and throwing this. He's not the most naturally gifted of fighters, but then neither was anyone else compared to Usyk. Maybe Fury, possibly at his peak, but it remains to be seen whether he even wants to fight Usyk, and if he's still got left what he had against Klitschko and even Wilder. But having said that, Daniel Dubois is not untalented. He's got a lot of talent, and I think it's important for that to be emphasised, and for him and Don Charles to carry on working together, for him to encourage Daniel to get his self-belief up. Did Daniel mentally collapse at the end of that Usyk fight? I would have to say yes, I think he did. And I think he could have gotten up. So you can say he quit. I'm kind of easy on people in boxing rings. I much prefer the sort of MMA idea that you can tap out and live to fight another day. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valour, and you should be allowed to say, okay, enough's enough. Having said that, the flip side is it doesn't need to become, you know, what you would call a what's the word I'm looking for? A routine. It doesn't need to become your default setting. You've got to get over it. Daniel Dubois, when the going gets tough, really tough, he capitulates. We've seen that twice. And when I say capitulates, I'm comparing him to elite heavyweight fighters, because if he's going to fight for world titles, that's the standard you have to hold him to. I couldn't do, 5% of what Daniel Dubois can do in a boxing ring. I'm not talking physically or talent-wise. I'm talking the mental strength of going to Poland, of getting in there with Usyk, of going 8.5 rounds. He's got some talent, Dubois. So I think in the future, what's in the future for Daniel Dubois, I would say, a drop down to European level. He's never held the EBU title. He's only 25. Maybe go after the EBU title, then take on maybe top 15 fighters, edge him back into the world level, get some more rounds under his belt, maybe a 10 round or a 12 round. I know a guy who hits that hard is difficult to match, because he gets rid of those third tier, those sort of C+ fighters. He can stop them quickly. But, get him someone who's going to take him 10 rounds a few times, 2 or 3 times. Get some fighters, some good durable fighters, maybe who are past their best, maybe who slipped in the gatekeeper role. Who are we talking about now? It's difficult to think, isn't it? Easier said than done. I don't deny it. If you can think of any names, leave them in the comments. I'm sure I'll think of a few names after I've completed this video. But that's what he needs. He needs more experience. And I would spend the next 2 or 3 years with Daniel Dubois, maybe the next 2 years, just building him up, getting him back into it. Don't even think about going for the title, another title again, the world title. Go for the EBU title. Maybe pick up a few of those ranking trinkets and fight some top 15 guys. And really, give the guy some confidence. Get his confidence up. A knockout here, a knockout there, but also some 10 rounders and some 12 rounders against good quality guys where he can actually feel, okay, under the lights, I know what to do. Oh, I've got an injury, I've got a cut eye, I know what to do. Okay, my nose is busted, I know what to do. You're not learning on the job. So I think if he wants it, he's got a future. There is that question mark over his desire when the going gets tough, but I wouldn't write Daniel Dubois off yet. He's only 25. That's a baby for a heavyweight. Tell me what you think. You leave your comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you think Dubois is a bust? Do you think he's got some talent he can rebuild? Do you think Don Charles is the right man for him? If not Don Charles, then who? James Ali Bashir, maybe? I don't know. You tell me. Thanks for your time, as always. Thank you for watching this video. And please subscribe to the channel if you're new. And hit the like button as well. Let's build up Joe Stunner Boxing. I really appreciate your time. And speak again soon. Bye for now.